D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, and David Janes here with you. Willie, Derek, and I are live inside Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators will host the Colorado Avalanche at the ungodly hour of 8:30. That's right, an 8:30 p.m. puck drop, 7:30 p.m. pregame, right here on 1025 The Game. It is a nationally televised game on TNT, so Willie Donick and the crew get the night off, but that means you have to wait an extra 90 minutes for Predators hockey tonight. So, sorry, guys. It's awful.
It's okay. We'll get over it.
As long as it ends up as a win, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. Just think that way.
Yeah.
Pull the upset.
Who's calling the game for TNT?
You know, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I wasn't sure. I meant to ask that earlier today, and I didn't.
I'm just gonna say right now, and I've said it before. I hate when y'all are not calling the games. I just don't like it. Don't watch it. So that's just me. I'm biased.
Well, now Willie has a homework assignment. In the meantime, Barry Trotz, Predators GM, will still join us at 5 o'clock. Even with an 8:30 p.m. puck drop, Barry Trotz, will join us at 5 o'clock. Trevor Maddich will join us in the 4 o'clock hour to talk about the college football playoff and more. We also have 2 giveaways today. In the first hour, be listening for your cue to call because you can win a pair of tickets to see the Music City Bowl at Nissan Stadium later this month when Tennessee faces Illinois. So be listening in this hour for the cue to call for a chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Music City Bowl later this month at Nissan Stadium. We also have a pair of tickets to see Belmont men's basketball to give away as well. So 2 giveaways. Be listening for the cues to call throughout the program. Just as we were getting off the air last night, gentlemen, we saw the news we were all expecting. Diego Pavia is a Heisman Trophy finalist. He will be in New York City this weekend alongside Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin, and Jeremiah Love, the other Heisman Trophy finalists. The ceremony is Saturday at 6 p.m. Central. So we'll see how Diego Pavia does. Fernando Mendoza, I would call him the overwhelming favorite. Last I checked at DraftKings Sportsbook, Mendoza minus 1,000, Pavia plus 600, Love plus 15,000, Sayin plus 70,000. So it's
70,000.
70,000.
Why do you even have it there? Goodness, why is the kid even there?
Plus 70,000.
Man.
So he gets a free trip to New York. And you know what?
Hey,
that's pretty damn nice.
I'll take it.
I wasn't a Heisman finalist, so I can't I can't knock his hustle, man. He's there.
So congratulations to Diego Pavia. Again, we expected this. I am incredibly fascinated, guys, how this voting is going to go. And I did some research last night because we talked about this on the show yesterday. There are 930 Heisman votes this year. 930. The U.S. is broken up into 6 voting blocks: Far West, Southwest, Midwest, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and South. Mm-hmm. Each of those 6 regions receives 145 votes, plus 59 votes for every former Heisman winner, and apparently a fan gets a vote as well. So
a fan?
One fan.
The Heisman Trophy agreed in 1999. The Heisman Trophy agreed to develop a special program to allow the public at large to become part of the balloting process by permitting one fan vote eligible in the overall tabulation.
How do they pick that
5?
Exactly. Or
10.
at least give me the number of states so we can
to have one from each region.
Exactly.
One person.
One.
Is it the same person?
So
Or do they pick random people?
I imagine it changes every year. I don't know how they choose it, but you have the 145 voters in each of those 6 regions of the country, which equals 870, plus the 59 Heisman Trophy winners, plus the 1 fan equals 930. So 930 votes for the Heisman Trophy. So I'm curious how it's going to go.
We project that Diego Pavia will carry the state of New Mexico.
Yes, absolutely. So hopefully that one voter is from Mexico.
Yeah, we need him from, I don't know. Yeah,
Mexico,
yes.
yes.
That'd be nice.
That one voter.
What if the 1 fan is the deciding vote?
It could be.
That would be Curb Your Enthusiasm episode of Larry David. That's what happened.
Larry David
Life
ends up picking the
imitates art.
Heisman.
Yes.
Larry
Larry David Heisman Trophy voter. So The Athletic did a straw poll. I heard Joe Rexroad talk about this morning, and I looked it up. So among the Athletics college football staff, of course, we know Joe Rexroad, we know Mitch Light. A lot of people on that staff have Heisman Trophy votes. Fernando Mendoza received 64 points. Diego Pavia received 61 points. So I wonder if it's actually going to be that close. Now, 930 people did not participate in this poll, but the voting among the Athletics college football staff, 64 points for Mendoza, 61 for Pavia. So,
I wonder about things like this. Saying Mendoza and Love are all from roughly the same region of the country, right? Are there any? But I just can't see a lot of voters up there voting Saying or Love first. Like, I was almost hoping that they would split. It would be close enough between those three that you might split a bunch of people from that region, and Pavia would get a higher percentage in regions where they watch him closer. But I don't know how that's going to go. So, like, if you're filling out your ballot, you go 1, 2, 3, right?
yes.
So if, let's say, you're from Indiana or Chicago area and you're voting and you've watched these three guys a lot, how do you vote? Like, if Mendoza gets all the first place votes up there, that's tough. If somebody sprinkles in a vote for Love, who's maybe who's watched Notre Dame closely, they think Love is super, outstanding and deserves it. I wonder if he steals some first place votes from Mendoza. I'm just looking for scenarios that might even the score, because 64-61 is probably closer than the odds would tell you, right? The odds makers.
So according to The Athletic, Mendoza received 14 first place votes, 10 second place votes, 2 third place votes for a total of 64 points. Pavia received 11 first place votes, 14 second place votes, 0 third place votes for a total of 61 points.
That's why. So that region, let's take the Midwest, or what was the region that would be Big Ten country?
Midwest.
What do you call it?
The Midwest.
The Midwest. If a Midwest voter watches a lot of those teams, Notre Dame, Indiana, and Ohio State, Big Ten focused, I could see them going, well, I haven't watched Pavia play that much. Let's go. I watched the Alabama game or the Texas game. He didn't play quite as well. They lost. They could go 1, 2, 3. He could be off ballots, right? That was one thing. Remember the vote, Adam, a few years ago, the Norris Trophy? That was very, very close between Roman Yossi, who did win it one year, but there was another year where he was very close. And there was a guy I think it was in Chicago. He covers the Blackhawks, of course, right? The Predator fans, they had no reaction at all. They didn't care that the guy wrote for the Blackhawks.
It was Scott Powers of The Athletic.
It was Scott Powers of The Athletic. He left Roman Yossi completely off of the ballot, which was insane for somebody in the Central Division to not see that Roman Yossi should have been at least in the top 3. It's one thing to vote him over Cale Makar, which was a very tight race. But little things like that add up in the points, right? There's always controversy. You can think about any sport. If you were exposed as a writer who, for whatever reason, just leaves a guy off a ballot,
so
you're more likely to get outed now than you did 30 or 40 years ago.
Rexroad told me last night that Heisman Trophy ballots are not transparent. So, for example, when we vote for awards in the NHL, our votes are transparent. So after the awards are unveiled, the Professional Hockey Writers Association puts out a spreadsheet. Here is everybody who voted for this award and all of the players they voted for in the specific order. Rexroad told me last night that the Heisman Trophy, whatever it's called, doesn't do that.
Okay.
Individual reporters will say, now that the Heisman Trophy has been awarded, here was my ballot. But it's not. It's the choice of the writer.
Person,
okay.
Correct. By the way, the Midwest region, as determined by the Heisman Committee, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. That is the Midwest region. Tennessee is in the South region with Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, and of course Tennessee.
But it's going to be a close race, I think, for this reason, because each one of those teams that each guy is representing, they've been in the limelight. Whether it be, Indiana, Mendoza, they've been in the top 3 or 4 the whole year. Obviously, Love, at Notre Dame, they're always going to be that team that's on the spotlight, or Todd Simpson. I mean, not Todd Simpson, but the Sand out of Ohio State. They've been the number one team, so they've been getting eyes. And then you have Diego with the story, so he's been getting eyes as well. I think that's why it's going to be so close, because each one of these teams have been ranked high throughout the whole season, so you had to pay attention to them. Vanderbilt's schedule and the way they played it causes you to pay attention to them, because now they're beating teams, and now everybody wants to see the Alabama game. Everybody wants to see the Texas game, see what Diego does. Now everybody wants to see the game moving forward. So it's going to be close to me because of that reason. I think Diego is the best player in college football. He's shown it. He should win it. But I don't think there's going to be necessarily like, well, I didn't get a chance to see him, or I didn't get a chance to see this guy, because now the conferences are so blended. You got people out west, now they're watching Big Ten football, or people in other regions because of the merger of the conferences. Now they're watching football that maybe wasn't watching 3-4 years ago.
I think what's likely going to happen, you tell me what do you think of this hypothesis? Where's the bell? Did you not bring the bell? I thought we were traveling the bell.
I need a travel bell.
Okay.
I need a travel bell.
We got to get a bell on the phone. So
Okay. So here's the hypothesis.
David will get the bell when he can. Thank you, David.
I don't think very many voters will have Mendoza lower than second on their ballot. He's probably going to get and I hope it doesn't happen. He's probably going to get slightly more first place votes than Pavia, and I don't think he's going to slip below second on a lot of ballots. Maybe a handful. I think Pavia is going to get a lot of first place votes, but I think he's more apt in the outer regions who don't know much about Vanderbilt, maybe haven't watched him very close. He's more apt to get left off ballots or third as opposed to second. I think that's going to cost him. So I think he'll get a lot of points, and I think he'll finish second. But I think the margin will be one with Mendoza. It's too easy. Undefeated, Indiana special story. Fresh in the mind, beat Ohio State.
Yeah, the way he played, the throw.
You have to really do your homework. If you do your homework, I think you can make a great case.
He's more of an impact.
Pavia is better. He's had a better season, more impactful season.
But the person's going to end up stealing some votes. I'm telling you, it's going to be Love.
Yes.
Love is going to be the guy that end up stealing votes. I think that's
but does
another
he steal
reason.
Votes from Mendoza?
Exactly.
Or
That's why it's going to be so. One of the reasons too, I believe, it's going to be so close, because there are a lot of people that think he is the best player in college football. He wasn't he had to split time with he and another back. So just think if he was an every down back.
Yeah. Like they used to use Marcus Allen and those guys at USC. Yeah.
If he had the carries that the kid out of Boise State had last year.
Right. Ashton Jeanty, who just carried the heck out of the ball.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask our resident SEC snob this question. Something else Joe Rexroad brought up to me in a conversation we had last night. How much anti-SEC bias will play into this voting? I know it's Vanderbilt, it's not Alabama, it's not Georgia, but there are a lot of people around the country who have an inherent anti-SEC bias. Does that affect Diego Pavia negatively?
I think I would answer that by saying these are humans, right? And I do think as much as you want to play it straight, with the 900 voters, among those voters, there will be people that have biases that will influence their vote. And that could factor in. That particular one could factor in. I would tell you that as the SEC snob, because it will work in Pavia's favor as well. I think people from the SEC regions, if you're an SEC snob and you believe it, you believe this to be true, that the week in, week out grind of the SEC is unlike any other league. So when you're playing Kentucky or Auburn in the SEC, who would arguably be at the bottom 4 or 5 in the league, it's not the same as playing the lower 4 or 5 teams in any other league. That's how good the league is. So a win over Auburn, as Alabama found out, as Vanderbilt found out, is not easy, even though Auburn didn't have a great record. It was 1-7 in the league, something like that.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Saturday? Diego Pavia is a Heisman Trophy finalist alongside Fernando Mendoza of Indiana, Julian Sayin of Ohio State, and Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. The ceremony is Saturday at 6 p.m. Central in New York City. I can only imagine Diego Pavia being let loose in New York City. I hope Vanderbilt. I hope Vanderbilt brought a film crew, regardless of whether he wins.
I'm sure Pavia brought his own.
That could be true as well. Would you watch a 30-minute video of Diego Pavia gallivanting around New York City?
Yeah, but think about one of his spiritual motivators, right? Is Johnny Manziel. And if you watch the 30 for 30 on Johnny Manziel, like they've formed a friendship, a bond, however you want to call it, right? We're the same number, all of that. Johnny Manziel did this, and he wasn't allowed to do it, right? Diego Pavia is doing this. He's allowed to do it, right? There's nothing holding him back. Like, he can do all of these things, live the life. He's got the money, and it's completely different than Manziel, who had to sort of be secretive about it, even though he wasn't.
You know how many, and this is another reason that if Jeremiah Love was the full-time back, he may just have won the Heisman. You know how many times Genty carried the ball his last season?
No.
374 times. You know how many times Love carried the ball?
No.
199.
199? I would have said for sure 250 at least.
No, 199 times. That's why people believe he is the best player, because he didn't
yards
get the
per carry.
Yeah, his yards per carry was outrageous. 10 point. What is it? No, he averaged 6.9 on 199.
So what was
carries.
Genty?
Genty was 7.0.
That's pretty impressive.
29 touchdowns, and Love had 21, I think. Does it say? Yeah, he had 21 touchdowns.
One texter on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com, says, against the premier teams on their schedules, Mendoza went 2-0 and Pavia went 1-2. That's what's going to push Mendoza to first, because Mendoza and the Hoosiers beat Oregon and Ohio State. Pavia beat Tennessee, but lost to Alabama and Texas. That could factor into it.
Some people look at it that way.
Yeah.
Every voter has his own way of doing it. Look, if that's your logic, I can't say that's terrible logic.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Diego Pavia? He is a Heisman Trophy finalist. How are you feeling about his chances of winning this weekend in New York City? 615-737-1025. You know what? It's the holiday season. It's almost Hanukkah. Christmas is around the corner. We're in a giving mood, so we are going to give away a pair of tickets right now. Be caller number 4. That's right, 4 at 615-737-1025, and you can win a pair of tickets to the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl at Nissan Stadium Tuesday, December 30th. The Volunteers versus the Illini. 615-737-1025. Caller number 4 will win a pair of tickets to the Music City Bowl later this month, just down the street at Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1025. Preds fans, Smashville Live returns tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on 1025 The Game, live from Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue. Feature Predators players up close and personal, and also get autographs and pictures. Preds player guests this week are Luke Evangelista and Nick Blankenberg. That's tomorrow night at Brewhouse 100.
A couple of popular guys right now.
Wild and crazy guys, perhaps. Luke Evangelista and Nick Blankenberg tomorrow night at Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue, and only on 1025 The Game.
Oh, yes.
Well,
Smooth jam right here.
Love
Number
will-
one in the country.
Well, Love will be at the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
He's
Jeremiah
got something
Love,
to do
that
with it.
is.
The
He does
answer
have
is he's got something to do with it.
That is true. But he probably won't win because his odds are, last I checked, plus 15,000, which is still better than Julian Sayin at plus 70,000. So good luck to you voting or betting on Julian Sayin to win the Heisman Trophy. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. Before we switch gears to the Tennessee Titans, a couple of texts about Diego Pavia and the Heisman Trophy on our text line. Tommy says, as a Vols fan, give him the trophy. He's turned a program around for 2 years. Indiana was good last year with a different quarterback in Ohio State. This dude's brought a school into relevance. As much as I don't like some of his antics, he deserves that trophy, and it shouldn't even be close. Bring the Heisman to Nashville. See, Vols fans, that's not so hard now, is it? Tommy is setting the example.
That person probably went into his bathroom, scrubbed his hands with bleach, and then washed his mouth with soap after saying that. It hurt him so bad. But he's right. I mean, he's absolutely right. But are the voters looking at it
That's
from
the
that
question.
standpoint?
How many voters will take that angle?
Exactly.
Because I do think that's a legit argument. But you could come back as a voter and say, I can't consider anything that happened last year. This is the Heisman Trophy for 2025, and I've got to base it on 2025. But you cannot ignore that the culture build is so much attributed to Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about a program that was in the dregs right before he got there. In the dregs.
That's low.
It was low. I went to a lot of those games that year. It was rough.
Ooh, hard stomping, huh?
Yeah, in the height of the construction,
exactly,
the overhaul, and they just could not compete. They sunk. They were trying to inch up. Remember, they had the wins against Levis and Anthony Robertson, and we were talking about those quarterbacks. Hey, they could be Vanderbilt, but those were huge wins for Clark Lee. He was emotional because he took over.
Those were building wins.
Yes, because Derek Mason after COVID, it really sank. They didn't have enough players to play. A bunch of them left. It was as low as I've seen anybody take it over. So that first year for Clark Lee, you knew was going to be rough. Then he built a little something to build around, and then they sunk back with all that construction. Diego Pavia. So how deep will a voter go? A voter in pick a region, Eugene, Oregon, or, Denver, Colorado, Maine, like those areas. Do they know that? I don't know. I don't know. They may or may not.
One texter says, I still can't wrap my head around the idea that the top two players up for the Heisman Trophy are from Indiana and Vanderbilt. This is the new world order of college football, brother. Perhaps it's here to stay. Greg on our text line says, as a Vols fan, I had to sit through Pavia Heisman talk, and I still got caller number 3. Well, Greg, there will be plenty more opportunities to win Music City Bowl tickets to see your beloved Vols take on the Illini at the end of this month. So be listening. We're going to be doing it throughout the month. Yes. So, Greg, I'm sorry you didn't win this time, but try again later, tomorrow. We're giving away tickets. We're giving away tickets for the next couple of weeks, I believe. Okay. Let's get to the Tennessee Titans, grudgingly. The Tennessee Titans won 31-29 on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns to improve to 2-11 on the season. And I have to tell you, I rushed immediately to tankathon.com. And I saw where the Titans are in the draft order, and I do not like what I see. They are number 3 behind the Giants at 1 and the Raiders at 2. All 3 teams have 2-11 records, but the Titans lose the tiebreaker because of their strength of schedule. So at the moment, after winning on Sunday, the Giants did not play this past weekend. The Raiders lost to the Broncos. The Titans fall from number 1 to number 3 in the draft order. The Athletics projection model. The Raiders are the favorite to have the number 1 pick at 44%, followed by the Titans at 21%, the Jets at 11%, the Giants at 9%, and the Browns at 8%. If I did this correctly, if the Titans lose out They lose their 4 remaining games at San Francisco, home to the Chiefs, home to the Saints, and at Jacksonville. The Titans will still have just a 67% chance of having the number 1 overall pick. So here's the question. We're going to ask a couple of questions about this, but here's the first question. The simplest question. Did the Titans just blow the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL draft?
I don't think they cared about blowing the number 1 pick in the NFL.
Well, I know they didn't care, but I care.
No, because this league is, I mean, things can turn in a matter of quarters or weeks. You look at each one of these remaining schedules, whether it be the Titans or the Raiders or the Jets or the Giants, all of them have a difficult schedule moving forward. But each team has a team in there, theoretically, if you look at it, they can beat. The Giants can beat the Vegas Raiders. The Vegas Raiders can beat the Giants.
Yes,
you know
that's an important game for the number 1
exactly.
overall pick.
The Titans can beat New Orleans. New Orleans.
That's another gigantic game for the
one.
number 1 overall pick.
So I think in each team, and I tried to look at this and said, well, who has the hardest schedule moving forward? And I looked at it and said, well, all of them really, in a sense, but you got 3 of them that ultimately are going to play one another. The Titans, well, all of them going to play one another. The Titans play New Orleans. The Jets play New Orleans. So whoever wins that New Orleans game between the Titans and the Jets could determine their fate.
Let's quickly run through
because
the remaining.
Both teams play the same individual.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the key games for the teams trying in the tankathon.
Let's run through the remaining schedules. The Titans at San Francisco versus Kansas City versus New Orleans at Jacksonville. The Raiders.
Now, remember, Jacksonville, in theory, could have resting players that day.
Or could be playing for the AFC South.
Oh, that's true, too.
The Raiders' remaining schedule. Yikes. At Philadelphia, at Houston, home to the Giants, home to the Chiefs.
Oh. This is between the Jets and the Titans.
The Jets at Jacksonville, at New Orleans, home to the Patriots, at the Bills.
Oh.
And the Giants, home to the Commanders, home to the Vikings, at the Raiders, home to the Cowboys.
It's going to come down to the Titans and the Jets. Why? Because both of those teams play Jacksonville and New Orleans.
The Raiders are a key team.
The Jets play them first. The Jets play Jacksonville and New Orleans, and then the Titans play them at the end of the season, the last 2 games at the end of the season. So that can be a big determination on who gets that number 1 pick.
Now, help me with this. You said it's because of strength of schedule. Haven't the Titans played like the toughest schedule in years?
They did.
Why does that not work to their advantage?
Here is the official wording from the NFL. Quote, in situations where teams finished the previous season with identical records, the determination of draft position is decided by strength of schedule, the aggregate winning percentage of a team's opponents. The team that played the schedule with the lowest winning percentage will be awarded the higher pick.
It's just like you should have done better. You played easier teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the reverse. You're not rewarded for strength of schedule. It's the reverse.
Correct. It's the reverse. And
so of all things, you get pilot like you. We're talking about Cam Ward's playing all these tough defenses, tough schedule, and well, at least they'll get the first pick. Nope, that works against you in this.
And some easy teams.
And head-to-head doesn't factor in immediately. So although the Raiders beat the Titans, that doesn't work in the Titans' favor either if they're tied at the end of the season.
See,
at least
again,
not immediately.
The arbitrary head-to-head. This is a great example because yesterday we were talking all about head-to-head. Miami, Notre Dame for the college thing. They brought it in at the last minute. And everybody went nuts. Here, it's like, nope, head-to-head doesn't mean anything.
Let's go to John on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. John, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Just wanted to talk about Diego, and I think he's a great player, probably one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen. But I think, and from a personal firsthand account, I think his family is going to mess up his Heisman chances. Because they don't want to deal with him.
Well, thank you for the call, John.
Who is they?
The voters.
Your voter.
Why would they have to deal with
They don't have to deal with him.
They don't have to deal with him.
Well, the world has to deal with him if he wins.
Again, the Pavia family in New York City. I shudder to think about it. But I've heard this a couple of times. I've heard this from some of our texters that Diego Pavia's family, including someone I'm not allowed to discuss on the show,
Right?
that his family is going to be used against him. His family is going to negatively impact his chances. Again, there are 900 plus people who vote on this award. Could one person not vote for Diego Pavia because they say, I don't want to see his mom all over my television screen?
That would be that'd be
I
so
can't,
idiotic.
I
to not
can't
vote
rule
for
that
somebody.
out. I can't rule that out. But I trust the Heisman voters enough that Diego Pavia's chances of winning the Heisman Trophy are not going to be drastically affected by his brothers and his mother.
No,
Not
it's
drastically, but could there be a fringe? Maybe. Okay, what's crazier? Having that affect somebody's vote or Mendoza's post-game interview after they beat Ohio State? Because that was
the way
crazy.
he sounded.
I mean, it was crazy.
He sounded like a kid on helium at a birthday party who had just had a gigantic piece of cake.
They're just talking like so fast.
He was excited.
He was very excited.
Look,
he had a right to be. He had every
absolutely.
Right to be
By
excited.
the way, remaining strength of schedule in the NFL, the Raiders have the fourth remaining strength of schedule. I assume that means the fourth hardest remaining strength of schedule. The Titans are at 11. The Jets are at 17.
How are the Jets at 17?
And the Giants are at 28.
I guess because they play.
And the Saints are at 32.
I don't, man, because they essentially, I guess you're saying by percentages, San Fran and Kansas City are better than. Well, no, it's the same thing. New
I think
England
the
and
Raiders.
Buffalo.
I think the Raiders are in the driver's seat here.
Here's a factor to me. What are we going to see from the Chiefs from here on out? Because
That's
they're
true.
kind of just holding it together with duct tape and barbed wire, and I mean they're hanging on by a thread. I can see them just saying, you know what, this isn't our year, man. Let's shut some guys down. Like seriously, they've got to get healthy for next year. Like they're they're teetering.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what their playoff odds aren't good right now. So in the coming weeks, if the reality sets in that they're not making the playoffs, I do think they will start shutting people down.
Well, they ain't going. Hopefully, they start shutting them down after this week because the Titans play them the next following week. Well, 3 weeks. No, so you got 3 weeks. So hopefully, they shut them down after this week and then no. So when they get to them, they don't have to worry about playing against Patrick Mahomes.
One texter, Taylor, says the only path for the Titans to get the first pick is to lose out with the Giants winning against Washington and Vegas beating the Giants in Week 17. I haven't done all of that math.
There's always a path.
And how bad is Geno Smith injured? That's another. Like he left the game against the Broncos the other day, and they had to bring in Kenny Pickett, and he didn't do so well. But
that team,
the Raiders, I feel like are competitive a lot of weeks. Like I wasn't thinking. Like I thought they would win another game along the way. Like you got Geno Smith, you got Brock Bowers, like you got some good players. Max Crosby, not so much.
No.
They're finding they do play in a very difficult division.
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't watched a single Raiders game since I had to sit through the Titans playing the Raiders several weeks ago.
I understand why.
I can't bring myself to waste my time. I waste enough time watching the Titans, let alone the Raiders. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we will continue this conversation because people are mad online. People have to be mad online about something having to do with Sunday. And I want Derek Mason's opinion on it because of the three of us here. Derek is the most qualified to answer the question that I have for him. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Starting on Thursday between noon and 3, Chase and Big Joe will have your chance to win a $100 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card, and you can qualify to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card. It's the 12 Days of Christmas on 102.5 The Game.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. The best financial move you can make this time of the year is lowering your mortgage rate. So if you got stuck with a high mortgage rate, right now Loan Pronto is delivering 4.99% fixed APR, the lowest rate in years. You can get up to $500,000 out of your home's equity in the process if that's what you need. But focus on that mortgage rate. If you got stuck with a higher mortgage rate in the last couple of years, they're down. Those rates are down. So take advantage of what Loan Pronto can give you. Loan Pronto has that rapid equity loan program. It's a streamlined digital process. Most of the time, you don't even need an appraisal. And you can save hundreds of dollars a month with your monthly budget. No hard credit pull up front. You probably won't need an appraisal, as I said. And if you need money from your home's equity, it's fast, easy cash, and they can get it to you. Act now. LoanPronto.com is the website. That's LoanPronto.com. Or call 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. 5780. Start that new year by wiping out all that high interest debt, lowering your bills by thousands. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, APR for well qualified buyers. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick 1025 the game. David Janes on the ones and twos back at our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. A reminder, Trevor Maddich will join us at 4:20. Barry Trotz will join us at 5 o'clock.
So I gotta give David a little shout out for some of the music he's coming in with.
All of these songs came out before he was born.
Yes, they did.
So
There's
definitely
nothing
did.
wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You throw a little Madonna out there, it brightens up the day.
That is very true. I can say that. I can say that confidently. So again, the Titans win 31-29 on Sunday. They're 2-11. They have lost the number 1 pick in the draft. At the moment, in the draft order, they have gone down from number 1 to number 3. And there has been plenty of discourse online on this station. People are mad online about the Titans winning and whether it was the right thing to do. I don't mean to pick on Paul Kuharsky. I have a lot of admiration for Paul Kuharsky. I'm going to read the start of his story after the game in Cleveland on Sunday. Quote, many of you are sad, lamenting the likelihood of lost draft position, but your team is happy. The guys you were happy the Titans drafted with 2025 set of high picks in April, some of whom you hope will be foundational, put together a solid effort and won a game over a team you'd like them to be better than if you'd set the damn draft aside for a minute. So it's a bit of a Titans fan / media civil war going on. There's team tank and there's team winning has value. And I know which side of the aisle Derek Mason is on. So I want you to speak on behalf of team winning is good, despite the fact that
Winning is good.
that it might ruin the Titans draft stock. So I want you, as the resident all-pro wide receiver in the NFL, to tell us why it's not a bad thing, in your opinion, that the Titans won on Sunday.
Well, first, Paul's right. You go into a season and you see how the season is playing out, and they're a bad team. But, there's a moment where those young guys that everybody's talked about and at the beginning of the year, the Titans can't develop anybody. Why should they make the draft? Well, you're starting to see these young guys develop a little bit. And with development, you may win a game or two that you didn't think you were going to win, or the fan base didn't think you were going to win. So I understand the fan base thinking that, the way to jumpstart this organization is to get as many picks and to get the number 1 pick. I get that. But we also got to blame ourselves, because at the beginning of the season, it's, the Titans need to do this with the high pick. They need another, a high pick this, and they're only going to win 2 games next year. So we're feeding all of this, even myself, we're feeding all this into the fan base's head. So when the season comes, they think we need another high pick, because the high picks we had last year, we should have traded them for one, but we didn't, and we still hadn't got enough guys. We need more guys. So what is going to allow us to get more guys? A higher pick, so we could possibly trade out of it. So this is what the fan base is thinking now going into the season. They know the team bad. Everybody knows the team bad. The team is bad. They win a game or two. Now it's, you can't mess up our draft order, because they've been fed all of this stuff in their heads. So we all are to blame. But as a former player, listen, we are going out there because, unlike the fans, no matter if that player is there or not, you're still going to be a fan of that team if that's your team. Guys are playing for their jobs each and every week. We can't say, well, you know what, man, we need us a left tackle. So I'm going to drop a few balls today. Or I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say, I ain't playing, just so I can do my part in trying to get that whatever player we need at the number 1 spot. But if I do that, I'm not going to be there. They're going to cut me. So I'm not going to reap the benefits of trying to tank or lose games anyway, because I'm not going to be there. Head coach the same way. As much as we know, and Mike McCoy know, he's not going to be the coach next year. Everybody knows it. But there's other jobs out there in this league. And I'm sure he wants to be a head coach somewhere once again. So he has to approach it as if we are going to win we're going to do our best to try to win every game. It's hard to convince players, and get it. Gambling is out there. I understand that. But unlike some sports out there, it's going to take a lot for in the world of football, unless you're the quarterback. But it's going to take a lot for you to throw the game, so to speak. It's going to take a whole bunch of stuff for you to throw the game. And players are not wired like, at least the guys that I knew, that I play with.
But
We were
here's
not
what
wired
happens. Though.
like that.
I agree with you. I think players are going to play hard, maybe some more than others, but nobody's going to throw a game.
No.
But here's what can happen, right? I just mentioned the Chiefs. Adam Vingan, outside linebacker. He's got a bad knee. Playing through it. Wants to play. He's a good player. If he's in the game, it increases our chances of winning.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? We need Adam for next year. We got to have him 100% for training camp. He needs a procedure. Let's shut him down.
But you're not doing
that's
that
what
to
happens.
lose games. You're doing that to protect the player. No, I'm just telling you because I've seen teams do that. Like I've been a part of
that's
teams
what
do that,
but that's
saying,
what you
like,
do.
listen,
That's what you
there's
do.
no reason
And you
to
have
risk
every
him.
reason to do that.
Of course, yeah.
But it helps you not win.
That's just like somebody getting injured. It's the same thing. So,
but everybody has guys injured.
Exactly.
He could play. He wants to play.
Mhm.
I'm saying, Adam, I got to shut you down, man. We need you for next year, even though I know he could play. And he could still
and maybe
probably
you want to
do
see some of the younger guys. You feel like, hey, listen,
right.
A young guy can go out there and give me what he's giving me now because he's
Right.
injured. A young guy can go out there, fresh legs, go out
Right.
there, and we can evaluate him while he's out there.
Exactly. And also,
You're trying to get the no. I'm not. I'm stopping
no,
it right there, Willie.
look,
I'm
let's
stopping
be
it.
real.
No.
Let's be real.
I
It
get that.
happens. It happens.
I get that part.
And
I
it's
get
not
the-
the coach. It's the coach is, hey, I want you guys to
But
play.
then you
I
can't
want them to
convince-
play hard.
But what if that one
The
game?
guys who are playing, I want to play super hard. And if they win, great.
But I'm gonna remove Adam. But what if Adam's
Right.
replacement comes in and bam, he hits?
Great.
Now you.
I found another player.
But you're winning still.
Yeah, that's okay. you can't throw the game. But
Yes.
you can
You can try to manipulate.
You can
some
manipulate
things,
your
okay.
roster.
Yes. Okay. I get. I'm still not. But I get. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
To be clear, none of us are accusing the Titans of attempting to throw games here.
No, of
I
course
think
not.
Cleveland might have.
Those 2-point conversions. that last
Cleveland
one
now,
where
I don't
Shedeur
know.
Sanders is not on the field and that guy's running around football follies, just chucking it across the field. Like Arden Key, how big did his eyeballs get? He's just throwing this ball to me. What's he doing? But then the other one where the guy just felt like, what was going on with those play calls? I have no idea. It does make you wonder.
It does. But in defense of Team Tank here,
Uh-huh.
you're on team winning is good.
Absolutely.
I'm on team winning is good,
Willie, of course,
Gotta
you're on
play
team
hard.
winning is good.
but I'm all for manipulating within reason, right?
Okay.
Everybody that
so-
suits up is playing hard. We're trying to win, but I am going to make sure I don't jeopardize, and I'm going to err on the side of caution.
Okay, so let's
Elevate a couple more guys in that practice.
let
squad.
me rephrase. Derek is on team winning is good.
Exactly.
Willie is on team winning is good to an extent.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm on team Tank.
Okay.
And look, I watched the news conferences. I watched the news conferences, after the game on Sunday. You could sense the relief on the players' faces. Mike McCoy, the ultimate substitute teacher, I'm sure he was thrilled. But ultimately, the Titans have an opportunity to have the number one pick again and do something they chose not to do a year ago, which is trade down and build through the draft. And by winning on Sunday, they put that opportunity in serious jeopardy. And when you look at the top of the draft, we were just talking about the Heisman Trophy. Fernando Mendoza, I anticipate being the top quarterback in this draft, much like Cam Ward was the top quarterback in his draft last year. I haven't done a whole lot of studying on the draft, on the quarterback class, but I know that it's far different than what we expected it to be when the season started. When the season started, we were talking about Arch Manning. We were talking about Garrett Nussmeier. We were talking about Drew Aller. We were talking about
Drew Aller.
right? We were talking about Lenora Sellers. Now you have Fernando Mendoza. You might have Ty Simpson. You'll have Dante Moore. You could have Sellers still, but Sellers had a down season. A lot of people were incredibly high on Sellers at the beginning of the season. So there aren't too many quarterbacks that could be number one pick worthy. And if you have the number one pick and a team is desperate for a quarterback, you've got him. And you can hold that pick for ransom. And if the Titans don't end up with the number one pick, let's say they end up at number 3, the quarterback or quarterbacks are probably gone. You're not going to receive a windfall for trading the number 3 pick.
What did the Jacksonville Jaguars give up to move up to what, the 2nd spot?
They gave up. They went from 5 to 2.
Yeah.
And it was a significant haul.
Exactly.
It was.
So you don't necessarily. So what I'm trying to get is, you don't necessarily have to have the number one pick. Maybe this year isn't a good year to have the number one pick. Maybe having the 2nd or 3rd pick is a pick that you can go out there and try to negotiate a move on. But no one's going to negotiate a move on the number one pick, because no one thinks that these quarterbacks but I've always said it only takes one team, and it still does. But even with that one team, there may be another team that said, well, I didn't want to move up to 1, but I can move up to 2 or 3 and be willing to give this in return. So having those, that's why I said I understand Adam loves Tankathon.
I do love Tankathon.
And the fan base don't want the Titans winning. I get that part. But they may end up being in a better spot, not having the number one pick, and then being able to negotiate a move out of the 2 or 3 pick for someone that wants a quarterback at the 3rd pick or another player at the 2nd pick.
Look, it's rare that a team has consecutive number one picks. It has happened twice in recent memory.
Carolina?
The Jaguars had the number one pick in 2021 and 2022, taking Trevor Lawrence and Trayvon Walker. The Browns had the number one pick in 2017 and 18, taking Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield. So it's a rare opportunity.
Carolina, was it Carolina or Chicago had it but traded away?
Carolina traded
up to get it,
yes,
to get Bryce Young.
Correct.
So Chicago had it 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I would say, too, the biggest reason that I think is the advantage of having the 1st pick is that you dictate and can trade down, and the Titans need that. From a who you get, it is a little bit arbitrary. Like, if you're like, oh, we got to get the 1st pick, there's been plenty of years where the 3rd or the 4th pick has been better than the 1st pick. Way better, right? And you're fortunate to have gotten it. Like, everything happens for a reason, right? It works out. If you're smart scouting, sometimes you get the guy that you need and you didn't have to tank. They just need more picks. That's what I kind of hope happens.
Do I need to find the study from the Nobel Prize winning economist?
It's out there. It's out there.
Do I need to pull that up again?
I have referenced it. It's out there.
Nobel Prize winners on this show, man.
Derek has banned Nobel Prize winners on this program, but do I need to find the study?
It's there.
615-737-1025.
And it's smart. The guy that did it was smart.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm on Team Tank. Which team are you on? Team Tank or Team Winning is Good? 615 or Team Winning is Good to an extent, which is Willie's team. 615-737-1025. We will take your reaction to that. We will also react to a literal grandpa being signed by an NFL team today. 615-737-1025. Join Chase and Big Joe tomorrow from noon to 3 at the Dunkin' located at 1645 West Main Street in Lebanon. Stop by with a stuffed toy and donate it to a child this holiday season. 1025 The Game is teamed up with Nashville Children's Alliance to give all these awesome stuffed toys donated by you. Just for stopping by, you'll be qualified for a 4-pack of tickets in the all-inclusive 501 Club at Bridgestone Arena for a Predators home game. A special thanks to the Metro Nashville Police Department, the Catalana Group, the Bluemont Group, Family Leisure, Thompson Machinery, Rich Mar Florist, Right Time HVAC, and Relodyne. For more information and a list of Dunkin' locations that you can donate a stuffed toy, visit thegamenashville.com/toy. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, and David Janes here with you. We are live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators versus Avalanche tonight at, 8:30 p.m. on TNT, a nationally televised game, hence why the game starts so much later than usual. Pre-game starts at 7:30 right here on 102.5 The Game. Barry Trotz will join us in 1 hour at 5 o'clock here at Barrel House for our weekly conversation. Trevor Maddich will join us in the next segment. But we are discussing the Titans' win on Sunday against the Browns and whether it was good or bad in the long run. Derek is on team winning is good. Willie is on team winning is good, asterisk, to an extent. I am on team tank. What about you? 615-737-1025. Let's go to Trey on our phone line. Trey, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, Trey.
Hey, I would want to say that I would want them to try to win every game. That's because I see improvement. I see improvement on the special teams. The special teams is playing dynamic, I believe. The defense has come around. Now I can see the real head busters out there. We got some real good head busters out there. Now, if the offense come around, we can do pretty good. I'm not really worried about, what plays we're going to pick and stuff like that. But what I do want the Titans to do, and I hope they're listening, is get us a receiver in-house. Somebody from Vanderbilt, because every time I listen to the radio, oh, my God, he caught the ball. I want one of them he caught the ball guys. We need a good receiver, right? Somebody from, Alabama. They got some studs over there. Alabama, Tennessee, even Vanderbilt. We need to stay in-house and get some good in-house players. And, I want them to try to win because we are improving. We really is. But y'all have a good evening, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Trey wants a receiver who can catch the ball.
That's it. Hey, give me one of those guys.
Can we find him one?
He caught the ball guy.
Listen, and I think that's the dilemma the fan base is in. You want to see improvement of your team. You want to see some of these young guys, Alec, DK, Gunner, Cam, Skoronski, some of these guys that you feel are going to be with you moving into this next stadium. You want those guys to show improvement, but then you want to hire picks. So it's this dilemma I think the fan base is in. And some of them are just saying, I just want a high pick because at least that may assure that we can get multiple picks out of that pick, or we can just pick a guy that we love high. But they do need a receiver. And the more and more I look at it, I mean, Carnell Tate, man, that kid's special. He is special.
From Ohio State.
That kid is special. And it's not because Jeremiah Smith's on the other side. This kid would be special at any university he was at. There's just something it's like he has this mixture of Higgins and Julio, and it's just he doesn't do anything bad. Like, his routes are clean. He's a hand catcher. He goes up and get the ball. He's physical. He runs through catches. He's great at combat catches. I don't know what he's going to run in the 40. He seems like a fast guy. But if I'm the Titans, I would want the number one pick just to be able to trade out of it low enough to still be high, but low enough to get Carnell Tate. This kid's going to be special, man. That's just my opinion. In Ohio State, but this is what you see from Ohio State. Over the years, receiver after receiver after receiver. And he's just another line of great receivers that are going to come into the NFL and I think going to have success. And then, lo and behold, after that, Jeremiah Smith. So, they need one of those guys. And I think Carnell Tate is the guy, at least in my book.
One texter says, Trey must have missed the SEC championship game and all those Alabama receivers getting locked down, LOL.
Yeah, Alabama. Williams, he's not. I thought that kid was going to be good.
Interesting.
He's not tough enough. That's what I'm realizing now. A bunch of talent. I mean, his talent is through the roof. The kid's just not tough enough. It doesn't seem like he has that dog in him that, for whatever reason, you saw it last year, and it's almost like he just took his foot off the gas and was like, I'm good. I'm going to cruise through this. And that's what I mean. he don't have dog in him, because you would want another. You would be hungry to get out there and double down on what you did the previous year. And I'm not sure if that's what he has.
One texter, Taylor, says, team winning is good is such old school Dabo Sweeney stubborn thinking. Get with the times, people. Tim says, losing is an illness. Once your team is infected, it's tough to cure. So one vote for team winning is good, the other for team tank.
Well, and that's what we talked about with the Predators.
Yes.
You know, should you go into this, rebuild and have to deal with the losing possibly coming, or do you want to continue to try to win hockey games? That's a dilemma that as a GM, you got to think about, because that locker room, because it's going to affect the locker room.
No question. Barry Trotz has talked repeatedly about that dilemma, and he is definitely for the culture. And it has been proven that if you tank and you're really bad, you can get into what they call the vortex, right? It just gets harder and harder to get out of it. You are seeing some stories of people crawling out of it and now saying, haha, I'm glad we did it. Now that it's over, we went. But there are other times where it's just, you think you're going to be out of it, and it's another 2 or 3 years because the culture is so damaged. Mm-hmm. You're just in a habit of losing. And the young players that you're drafting that are supposed to save you, they have bad habits because they have entered a bad culture.
And that's why, when you listen to Jeffrey Simmons, he said it.
Yes.
Jeffrey said it. Like, listen, we got to bring in somebody that's going to be a culture changer, a guy that's going to lead this team. So if he's saying it, there's no room for, now if you're a bad team, you lose, fine. But there's no room to lose on purpose in this league, no matter what.
And the thing about the NFL that's different is you can turn it around quicker. You can get more immediate help from the draft than you can most years in hockey. It takes time because everybody you draft is 18. You're drafting 22, 23-year-old players a lot of times, and some of them are ready to go. They can help you quick. And if not the first year, then the second couple of years.
One texter says, the game I saw on Sunday, it looked like both Cleveland and the Titans were trying to tank, but neither one knows how to win by losing.
No,
there was some rough stretches in that game.
Yeah.
It was a slow-moving game.
But I don't
there
think
were some fun plays.
It was just two bad teams going against one another.
Yeah.
One bad on defense and one bad on offense.
It all evened out.
It all evened itself out.
Damian says, maybe it's not how many picks the Titans have, but how well Borgonzi picks. So winning may not be such a bad thing. And I know Willie is going to bring up how many bites at the apple statement.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring it up?
How many darts you going to get to throw at the dartboard?
Yeah, I mean, how many analogies do we have? We got to shake it up, right? You can't go to the same one every time. So the bites of the apple, the throws at the dartboard. We need to come up with a few more.
Yeah, we got to come up with some more.
One texter says, my Pittsburgh Pirates have been tanking for 30 years.
Who's been tanking for 30 years?
One texter says, my Pittsburgh Pirates have been tanking for 30 years.
Yeah. They don't try.
And see see what he gets there? Right here.
But you're right, Willie. It's so much different in the NFL than the NHL, because in the NFL, the players you draft are hopefully helping you immediately versus in the NHL when, by most accounts, those players need a year or two before they are up to speed. But we will continue to take your thoughts on that. But let's keep it in the AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts have signed a literal grandpa. Not just because Phillip Rivers is 44 years old, but because he is actually a grandpa. He has 10 children. As a reminder, you may have heard that once or twice over the past 24 hours or so. He has 10 children, and he has one grandchild. So congratulations to Phillip Rivers. Grandpa could be back in the NFL. He has signed with the Indianapolis Colts' practice squad. He is unretiring. He has not played since the 2020 season, but Daniel Jones is out for the season. Riley Leonard's status is uncertain. Anthony Richardson is injured. So the Colts need a body.
It's bleak.
And here comes 44-year-old grandpa, which is such a strange thing to say. Does anybody know a 44-year-old grandpa?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I mean, they're out there.
Yeah,
I know they're out there. I just don't know any of them.
Well, now we know one.
You ever Phillip?
Yes. Now we know one. Phillip Rivers.
So
I think it happens a little more than you think. That's on the young side for sure. But
I do want to mention this because I know some of you are going to text us 615-737-1025 and say, what about Ryan Tannehill? Ryan Tannehill has played more recently than Phillip Rivers. I don't know how I found this, but Ryan Tannehill did an interview with a publication called The Escapist last month. And he said this, quote, "I think that chapter is closed. I think last year that was where I was at. If the right opportunity came up and was right for our family, staying in shape and staying ready. I had plenty of calls, but nothing ever felt like the right opportunity that I was looking for. That was last NFL season. At this point, I think that ship has sailed for me." So Ryan Tannehill has officially retired. So that is why Ryan Tannehill was not called by the Indianapolis Colts.
And consider this. It's been a while since Ryan Tannehill played, right? It just seems like he last played in 2023. Phillip Rivers has not played since 2020.
5 years ago.
That is an eternity. It's one thing that he's 44, but having not played since 2020, that's a lot.
He's fresh.
That's a gap. He does have fresh legs.
Right on cue. Right on cue. As I was reading that, somebody texted in, "Why would the Colts sign Rivers instead of Tannehill?" So there you go.
I think Tannehill is at a space now, and I believe, like a lot of guys majority of the guys do, where like that first year is of retirement is like, okay, I still can play. If you retire like Ryan Tannehill, and I know he wanted to still get back out there, I can still play. I can still do it. That first year, Ryan's been 2 years now, going on 2 years. So that first year, but then the second year is like, I think your ego kind of settles down now. Your ego slowly fades away. Why? Because nobody's cheering for you. You're doing home life. It's just every day you're hanging out with your friends. So that world starts to get removed from you, so at least for me, that's how it was. And then that second year was like, I'm good now. I'm fine. But, for him, he's in that space where I think now their family has set into what they're going to be moving forward. And his wife and his family has gotten used to him being there now and helping. And then all of a sudden now, and it seems like he's a great dad, great husband. All of a sudden now he just can't leave that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because now they've gotten used to him being. Before they weren't used to him being at home.
Right.
And he was still trying to feel his way through it. Now he's like, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm settled, and I'm all right.
By the way, should Phillip Rivers start on Sunday, it would mark 1,800 days since his last NFL game, the third most days between starts among quarterbacks who did not play between them.
He had a really good game his last game.
1,800 days.
So at least he can
Who are the
hang his
other
hat on that.
Give me a minute.
Okay. But here's what I was going to bring up. The other side of that coin. It's like, for me, right? There's always somebody being a smart aleck going, "Hey, Willie, you're a lefty pitcher. You want to come out? Can you still get a couple outs?" There's still part of me that's like, yeah, if I got in shape, you're just wired that way, right? Like if somebody called you right now, D. Mason, said, like, this is a classic example of desperate times call for desperate measures. Like the Colts have no other choice. They're not like, oh yeah, if this happens, we'll just call Phillip Rivers. Like this has just happened. They're like, what do we do? Who can we call? And this is the best they can come up with.
Okay.
But if they called you, the Titans, and said, look, we got XYZ out. We don't have enough guys. Can you suit up? Like Chris Mason still will go in on occasion. I don't know if he's done it this year, but the last few years, there's been a day or two at practice where they needed a goalie to go out there.
He can do it.
He still loves going out there. He's in great shape. He puts the gear on. He goes up and he takes shots. And you wouldn't want to go in a game right now necessarily, but if he did, like, I think he would be like, all right,
bring it on.
So how would you feel about that? Like part of you would want to do it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because again,
you're wired that way.
As I explained, that ego got set aside because but then now it's not. It's just like, I wonder if I could go out there.
Want to find out.
No disrespect to the guys that are doing it now, but I would tell you, hey, listen, we can't do a physical because I'm a flunk the physical. I got a strained hamstring right now. so
we'd have to get those logistics.
Exactly. We have to get those worked out first.
I have the list.
My kids are grown, so I can go back.
So Phillip Rivers, if he starts on Sunday, it would mark 1,800 days since his last NFL game, the third most days between starts among quarterbacks who did not play between them. Please help me if I butcher this last name. 1960, Frank Tripucka
Yes.
Kelly Tripucka. There's a Kelly
Yep.
Tripucka.
of the
I
Denver
think that's-
Broncos.
Yeah.
Frank
Relation,
Tripucka
maybe.
of the Denver Broncos, 2,827 days. John Reeves of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1987,
Wow. I remember him.
2,149 days. Phillip Rivers would be at 1,800. Todd Bowman of Jacksonville in 2010,
Yes, I remember him.
1,757. Chris Miller of Denver in 1999, 1,435.
But
I think
those
I
guys were
played with
playing
Bowman.
football. Like, they just weren't in games, right? They were on a team, right? They weren't out of the league. Like, John Reeves was in the USFL. He was a really good
I don't
he
know the
played
answer to that.
The only reason I remember because I was in Florida at the time, and Steve Spurrier was the coach, and John Reeves was one of his quarterbacks. They had a really bandit ball, it was called. Like the early day, Steve Spurrier always had a fun offense, throwing the ball all over the place. He was one of their guys. So he came back. 87 was the strike year.
Yes.
So he
guys
probably
came back,
came in and got in a game. So there's some special circumstances there. This is unprecedented, right? Just being out of the league for that long at 44. What's that going to look like?
Well, we could see on Sunday, 615-737-1025. We will pick up this conversation after Trevor Maddich. He will join us coming up next to talk about the college football playoff. We can ask Trevor what he thinks about 44-year-old Phillip Rivers potentially suiting up on Sunday. 615-737-1025. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think with Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. Let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. And welcome in, no, not Cher, but Trevor Maddich, who is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Hi, Trevor. How are you?
I am not Cher, Adam, but I do believe in life after love. So there's that.
All
There
right.
you go.
There you
Yes.
go.
On the record.
Yes, a romantic Trevor Maddich. Trevor, of course, we've spent a lot of time over the past couple of days, really the past couple of weeks, talking about the college football playoff rankings, but now we have the bracket. And I'm wondering how important you think it is that Tulane and JMU give Ole Miss and Oregon competitive games. Because if they get blown out, you know that you are going to hear plenty of people crying about how the group of five doesn't deserve to be in the college football playoff. I believe I heard your colleague Paul Feinbaum even say earlier today that he wants to get rid of the the group of five schools in the college football playoff. So again, my question, how important is it for Tulane and JMU to have competitive first round games, even if they don't win?
Adam, it's very important that they do it for exactly that reason. I mean, this is the angriest I've ever seen college football fans about the committee since the 14 playoffs started back in 2014 or whatever that was. And I mean, it's not just anger that their team was left out. It is vitriolic. It is acrimonious, and it is well deserved. Notre Dame fans are super chapped by being bounced out in the last ranking. And it's not that they should have been in ahead of Miami or even Alabama. I think the committee got it right from that standpoint. But it's the timing of it to keep Notre Dame in the playoff, in range at number 10, which is just inside the cutoff this year for at-large bids. And then when they didn't do anything to change their resume, Miami didn't do anything to change their resume, the committee just swapped them and put Miami in and Notre Dame out. And so Notre Dame is just furious about it. They're fed, and they're right to be. Not necessarily that they're not in, but although they're mad about that too, but because there was just a swap with no apparent rationale that anybody can figure out. And so when you take that and then you say now Notre Dame at number 11 right now, one spot out of at large, and who's in? James Madison is in. Tulane is in. These are teams that are not ranked in the top 12. BYU is at number 12. Tulane is at number 20. James Madison is number 24. The reason they're there, of course, is because they're two of the top five highest ranked conference champions, and therefore they get automatic bids. But a lot of people are saying, no, not anymore. And I think this might be the proper catalyst to make that happen. Or if not proper, I think the most powerful catalyst that we've seen. Now, having said that, I'm against it. I think we need to respect conference championships, and I like the way that they give 5 automatic berths to the top 5 highest ranked conference champions. I think that's important for college football as a whole to keep regions all around the country involved in the national race, and this is how you do it. But at the same time, the anger is so directed, and it is so red hot that if the group of 5 is going to get bounced from a standpoint of automatic burst now for a conference champion, then I can see it happening now if it's ever going to happen.
Trevor, how do you feel about Notre Dame making the decision to withdraw from any bowls to, I would say, protest the decision made by the College Football Committee? How do you feel about Notre Dame's decision there?
Adam, I understand why they're furious, but I disagree with the decision. It seems from the outside looking in like a decision made in the heat of the moment. And so to say, okay, then we're just withdrawing is one thing. But then in some ways, it damages themselves because teams use 2 weeks of bowl practice to get work in for their younger players, to get their depth pieces in, to get their young guys that aren't even depth pieces yet, but they're very talented, and they want to get them more practice to be ready for spring ball so that they're ahead of the game when spring practice starts. bowl practice is very important for teams and programs because of this. Plus, in bowl games, you get a lot of these guys into those games too. And for Notre Dame to take that away from themselves just seems like it was not the right decision to make. Now, I respect Marcus Freeman, their coach. I understand word coming out of South Bend that the players realize that some of their key players will be opting out to get ready for the NFL draft, and they don't want to go into bowl season with a completely changed team. All that stuff, okay, fine. But it just seems to me that it was a decision made in an emotional moment, and I don't think it was the right decision.
Yeah, I'm with you, Trevor, on that one because, beyond all of the other stuff, the money, it's the practices, the time you get with the players, the development you get with some of these younger guys, and they enjoy, possibly going to a bowl game, a place that a city or state they've never been to. So I just thought that was immature, and I think it's going to hurt, Notre Dame from a PR standpoint moving forward. Now I know they put in this new amendment where they're going to be able to get in, which I think they strong-armed everybody anyway. But I think they're going to take a big PR hit because it's almost as if, okay, we're not involved, and we're going to take our ball and we're going to go home, regardless of who it may hurt development-wise underneath us. We're just going to take our ball and convince the players that this was the right thing to do. But with that being said, what do you? I'm not sure if you are a Heisman voter, Trevor. If you are, then I know you got to try to keep things real tight. But when you look at these finalists, do you think perhaps Diego, if indeed he doesn't win and it's close, do you think possibly there could have been this, we seen Mendoza play last and he did give us a Heisman moment within the Big Ten championship?
Yeah, let me kill two birds with one stone here.
Mm-hmm.
Diego Pavia should win the Heisman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that tells you that I don't have a vote. I moved to Nashville in 2006, and there was already a glut of Heisman voters in the region. So I don't have an ability to get it right now. But I think really Diego Pavia should win it. People are talking about Fernando Mendoza, and he would be deserving if he does win it because without him last year the Hoosiers went to the playoff. This year, he took them to the next level, went undefeated, beat Ohio State to win the Big Ten championship, and now they're the number one seed in the playoffs. So he did a lot of great things. He's deserving of the Heisman, but I think Diego Pavia did more with less and elevated a program that had been farther down at the time than Indiana was and brought him up to national prominence. And in doing so, he didn't just, win on the field. I mean, they're 10-2 this year in the SEC, for goodness sake. But he also elevated the program into the culture of Nashville. And guys, we've talked about this, but I think it bears reiterating that with the music scene and the celebrities and all the big business and all the healthcare stuff and all the stuff that's going on in Nashville at the highest levels. And forever, Vanderbilt football was down over here and nobody paid any attention to it. Well, now Vanderbilt is elevated into that culture. Vanderbilt is a star in its own right now, football, and Diego Pavia is the star of stars of Vandy football and in the culture from that standpoint. And especially because the Tennessee Titans are down and the Predators aren't doing super great, all of a sudden you've got Vanderbilt leading the way from a football standpoint. And I think that the Heisman going to the most outstanding player in college football. That's the charter. It's not the quarterback on the best team, which it seems to be most years, right? Or, the best player or the one with the biggest stats. It just says most outstanding. And I think when you talk about a combination of what he did on the field between the lines and what he did for the entire program, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Diego Pavia should win the Heisman this year.
Now, Trevor, when you look at the top four teams or top four seeds, obviously Indiana has proven because they beat the number one team in the country that they should be the number one team in the country now and the number one overall team in the playoffs. But do you believe they are the best team at this point, or do you look at the way Georgia, dismantled Alabama or how they dismantled Texas weeks before that? Do you look at them as a team that's just now started peaking and they may end up being the best team in college football at this point?
Yeah, Darius, that's a great question because Georgia started the year with a lot of identifiable flaws that opponents took advantage of. Their secondary was giving up a lot of big plays. They were awful at getting to the quarterback from a standpoint of pass rush. And their offensive line was banged up. Their running back room was banged up. They weren't running the ball as well as you expect. But starting about midseason, Georgia started to put it together. And now they are one of the best teams, although I still would go with Indiana as the best team. And I think the biggest difference remains the pass rush. Georgia's done better at getting after the quarterback. Certainly they got all over Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson in the SEC championship game. But Indiana has got 6 games where they rushed for over 300 yards, most in the nation, right? So they run the ball well. They had over 100 yards rushing in the third quarter. By the time the third quarter was being played, they had over 100 yards rushing against Ohio State's great defense to go with the passing attack that we expect. So all those things are there for Indiana. But the big difference is that all year long and continuing now, I think Indiana's front is much more disruptive. Ohio State quarterback Julian Sayin is one of the least stacked quarterbacks in college football this year and had one of the highest completion percentage in college football in part because of that. But Indiana's defensive front overwhelmed the Buckeyes offensive line, got after Julian Sayin, and it's one of the reasons the Buckeyes only scored, 10 points in the championship game. Indiana quietly has one of the best secondaries in all of college football. And so, we think about Mendoza and the passing attack, but this is an incredibly balanced team that performs at a very, very high level in every phase of the game. And I would say that Indiana right now would edge out Georgia for that post.
Trevor, let's take that further, that point, because, I think Vanderbilt definitely from last year to this year found a lot more players in depth and was much better from top to bottom. How did Indiana do it? Like, how did they get? Because last year, I think we can remember when they played Ohio State, they were just a little bit overmatched. They weren't quite there. It's same thing in the playoffs when they lost at Notre Dame. But they have closed that gap and maybe even overtaken them. Where did they find the guys?
They found the right guys. And I think you start with what Texas Tech did because that's sort of famous in college football now. They brought in all kinds of transfers and everything was great. And their defensive front, especially their defensive line, was $7 million of NIL money they invested, and they went from one of the worst defensive fronts in college football last year to one of the best this year, right? Well, Indiana did the same thing when Curt Cignetti came in from James Madison. He brought a lot of his best players from James Madison, and it wasn't just that these guys were superstar talents. They were very talented, of course, but they understood the culture and they understood the schemes. And they came in and meshed right away as a unit last year. All these guys, and the guys that didn't come from James Madison weren't jealous of the guys from James Madison. They fell in behind him from a standpoint of buying in to the culture that they helped establish in the locker room. And then this year, they got even better, Indiana did, because of, you bring in Mendoza. Last year, Curtis Rourke at quarterback, he went to the NFL, right? Well, now you're talking about a potential Heisman winner and possibly first pick in the draft in Mendoza if he comes out this year. And so, they've actually gotten better, but it's not just that they've overwhelmed with talent. Much like Texas Tech, they've got the right guys in, and those guys were not just scheme fits, but culture fits. And that's, I think, what they've done. And I think from a standpoint of Cignetti, this is his second year. And I think the fact that he, in his first year, made the playoff and his second year went undefeated and is ranked number 1 right now goes a long ways towards explaining why coaches at places like Penn State and LSU got fired this year. Because NIL donors are saying, look, we're kicking in all this money, and then you want another $1 million from me next year for the quarterback and another $1 million after that for the quarterback. And I'm looking over at Indiana, and in the second year, they just won the Big Ten and went undefeated. You look at Mike Elko at Texas A&M. In his second year, they are now in the playoff. You look at the coaches at James Madison and Tulane, they're in their second year at those places, and they are now conference champions in the playoff. And other, I think, boosters, if they're kicking in all this money, are saying, look, coaches led by Curt Cignetti are doing it right now. And if you're not doing it right now, you're gone. because I want to give my money to someone who will. And I think the concept of patience in building a program is now obliterated. And you can thank Signetti for a large part of that.
So real quick, Trevor, because we're a little short on time. Would you prefer, if you were to change the format, because everybody that's complaining has their own, well, this is what they should do, but straight 16 or a play-in to the current kind of status?
Yeah, I think, Willie, it's a great point. I think that either I would just go with, actually, I would go with the play-in, because that creates another level of drama in what would be a straight 16 anyway. And so, the Big Ten has suggested that on the week of championship weekend, you have a playing game in the Big Ten, and so you end up with extra stuff. And so as long as we expand the playoff to at least 16, I think that's a good thing, but I'd rather see a play-in because I love drama.
Trevor Maddich has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick. He is brought to you each week by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys.
615-737-1025. I have another giveaway. If you want a pair of tickets to see Belmont men's basketball take on UIC at the Curb
9-1 Belmont.
The 9-1 Belmont men's basketball team take on UIC at the Curb Event Center on Saturday. Be caller number 2 at 615-737-1025. Caller number 2 will win a pair of tickets to see Belmont take on UIC at the Curb Event Center on Saturday. 615-737-1025. David James will take those calls. He's back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Avalanche tonight at 8:30. Yes, I said 8:30. Right here on 102.5 The Game. Pregame starts at 7:30. Barry Trotz will join us at the top of the hour. During our segment with Trevor Maddich, Derek, we received a text from someone who said that they disagree with the two of you totally on Notre Dame, saying that Notre Dame made the right call opting out of bowl season. This is a long text, so I am going to attempt to summarize it. The texter said, in part, you weren't in those rooms and you don't know the conversations they had, so how can we sit here and say that it was a mistake for them for practices? I will quote Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice, not the playoffs, which are important, but practice that's developing nothing.
That's a person that never played sports, so I'm not going to answer that question. Go ahead, move next.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. I have no
That's
reason.
it?
That's it. It's like talk to a brick wall. I mean, they have I can't, there's nothing that I can say that would convince someone that says that playing is the best thing. So that person has their opinion. I get it. It is what it is, but I played the sport, and I know a lot of other people that played it that they would say, hey, listen.
Well, Trevor
let's just
laid it
play the
all
game.
out.
Exactly.
Trevor laid it out perfectly. And we said it. It probably felt really good for the coach to go up there and say, screw you guys. We're not going. We're not going.
We're not going to take it. No, we're not
We're
going to
out.
take it. We're taking our golden ball and we're going
by
home.
now, he has got to be going, I don't know about that. Because developing guys, and you have a game. It's not like you just get to practice. You don't play a game. You get to play a game.
But it's the message.
It's the message.
Exactly.
Yes.
Your head coach can't say nothing about winning football games and playing football games no more. I don't want to hear Coach Freeman say anything about winning football games and how important playing football is, because you just had another opportunity to play football and your ass said, no, give me my golden ball and we're going home. If you think that's the right thing to do, come on.
What kind of life lesson?
Yeah, exactly. Like, seriously. Like, that's why I say, man, whatever.
I would like to point out a quote from Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua, because he did a news conference today. Quote, we were shocked, mystified what happened Sunday. We had one of the most dominant 10-game runs in the history of college football.
Please.
Let me read to you their opponents. Purdue, 2-10. Arkansas, 2-10. Boise State, group of 5. NC State, 7-5. USC, 9-3. Boston College, 2-10. Navy, group of 5. Pitt, 8-4. Syracuse, 3-9. Stanford, 4-8.
It was a cakewalk for them.
One of the most dominant 10-game runs in the history of college football.
There's a lot of history to college football. Absolutely. And I'll put, come on.
It's not.
That's the thing. Like, when you can't say stuff like that. You're an athletic director. It's 100 euro check. How can you float something like that out there and expect people to go, oh, man, yeah, he's right, man.
Yeah.
He's right. That's one of the most. So what's his name? Bavacqua?
Pete Bavacqua.
Bavacqua. You think you're going to float that out there and people are going, oh, yeah. Oh, he's right.
Yeah, that's
the
a tough
Notre
schedule.
Dame athletic director, that's one of the most dominant runs I've ever seen in college football history. Oh, man, I looked it up and he's right. Are you kidding me? That is so far from the truth. How does he even think that he can throw that out there and not get laughed at?
Everybody's still laughing at him. That's, again, I understand this may be the person if they're a Notre Dame fan, but your program just took a hit reputation-wise, and then they went in and strong-armed the committee to make sure they do get in. I hope their ass don't win number 5 games next year, because again, the life lessons you are teaching those young men. When you try to tell I guarantee you one of their other players, if you ask one of those, we will be ragging on a player. If a Notre Dame player or another player opted out of playing in a bowl game, but his team went, we'll be crucifying that player. But it's all right if Notre Dame chooses to do it and take their golden ball and go home. And now whoever the bowl committee is, they got to try to find another team. Oh, they'll find another team. Don't worry about it. But they got to try to find another team now. And you've taken away the opportunity for these young men to continue to. Isn't that what it's about, Willie? developing your players.
Yes.
Isn't that what it's about?
And you know what?
Texture.
We rip on the bowl games because, hey, yeah, they're not the same. And if you win, it's great. If you lose, but it is a fun experience.
Yeah.
It's a life experience. You won't forget
No.
going to it. Look, I always tell my story about the NIT. We won the NIT when I was a freshman at Vanderbilt. And no, it's not the same thing as winning the NCAA tournament or even going to the NCAA tournament, which we did the next year.
They don't play one shining moment when you win the NIT.
They don't.
They play one glimmering moment.
Right. And
one shiny moment, but not one shining moment.
And we lost in the first round, and it was still satisfying. We made the tournament, right? But the NIT was an experience that we will never forget. We won 5 straight games. We played at Madison Square Garden. We cut nets down. It was fun. And did it mean the same thing? No, but it was fun. And if our coach had said, we're not going to the NIT, no, we should have been the NCAA. I'm not going, which some teams have done, right?
Yeah.
Bobby Cremins for Georgia Tech did that one year. I'm so glad that we did it because I have a ring. We had great experiences. We stayed out all night in New York after we won. We didn't sleep. We got back to the airport, and there were thousands of people waiting for it. It was fun. It was a good experience. And Notre Dame, I don't know what the experience would be at their bowl, but some of their players would have a life experience that they would not otherwise have.
What year was that?
1990.
Okay. Who had more fun in New York City? Willie Donick in 1990 or Diego Pavia on Saturday?
Oh, Diego.
Diego for sure.
Now, Willie did have some fun.
Willie
had some fun.
I'm
sure Willie had some fun. But I think Diego.
Quickly.
In the clubhouse is Diego.
Quickly, let's go to Roy, who's a Notre Dame fan on our phone line. Roy, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right, I appreciate you guys taking my call. I probably would have played the game too. I mean, even though probably some of the players wouldn't, but I got the impression from them Notre Dame, that it was players that had this choice too, not just the coaches. I don't think the coaches just said, hey, we're not, or the athletic director. I think it was a team choice. All right. So I don't like the bashing of Notre Dame. The reason why is, if Notre Dame was undefeated, what was the highest rating they could get? You guys know?
No.
What's the highest rating? 5th. Even if they're undefeated, they're not allowed to get a first round.
That's right.
They're not.
That's right.
Okay,
I remember that from last year.
They're penalized for not being in the conference. Also, when Notre Dame was losing to Miami by 3, Alabama was getting drilled by Florida State. Alabama has some, they got 3 losses. I'd rather have Vanderbilt over Alabama, even though they lost to Alabama. I mean, it was a close game. So, yeah, I mean, there's points of everything. Miami could have won their conference. Their conference is crappy. Also, you guys keep picking at Notre Dame's schedule. Most of those teams are Big Ten or the ACC or the old former Pac-10. But here's the thing. Those schedules are made years in advance. Last year, Syracuse was good. This year, they're awful, okay? So you can't really blame them for that. Now, if they played Georgia State or somebody like Alabama or Auburn did, or all these other teams, then I disagree with them not playing. But I understand probably they're going to lose some of the players that are not going to be in there. But if you look at the draft or at the betting odds, Notre Dame, I've been a fan all my life, and I watched them. And that team that's there this year is better than their team last year. Okay, so they're rated like 4th in the betting odds to win the whole thing. So I understand they got job. This is the way the system is, but complaining, about it, complaining about Notre Dame because they're Notre Dame. Either you love them or you hate them, and I understand that. But Notre Dame wouldn't get any play right now except for this, and I think the committee.
Thank you for the call, Roy. We appreciate your insight. We had to cut you off there because we do have to get to Barry Trotz. 615-737.
You made some good points, though.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
615-737-1025. Predators GM Barry Trotz will join us in just a matter of moments right here at Barrel House. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Yeah.
Mace Vingen and Donick 102.5. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, and David Janes here with you. Predators puck drop isn't until 8:30 tonight. A nationally televised game on TNT against the Colorado Avalanche. But Barry Trotz is still here at 5 o'clock for his weekly chat. Hi, Barry. How are you?
I'm good.
Glad to have you here as always. So let's start. I want to ask you about a report I saw over the weekend. Our friend Elliot Freeman, who joins our program every week, he reported on Hockey Night in Canada that the New Jersey Devils, among other players, have their eyes on Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos. I know you have a relationship with Tom Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
Have the two of you discussed either of those players?
I will say that's between me and Tom, if we did. But I am. It's my job right now to listen to everything. If someone comes to me regarding Steven Stamkos, I'm going to listen. Doesn't mean that Steven's going to be moved. Obviously, he's got protection, but I think there's everybody at this time. Honestly, I'll just straightforward is every team in the league is calling around. Would you move this? Would you move that? Would you move this? I'm listening, and I said, what would you give for that? And I'm just taking as many calls as I can and trying to get values on what's out there, because that'll be a really important aspect going forward. You're not going to make a deal or ask a player to move, no trade or no movement clause, unless it's something that has some substance to it.
I'll honor the privacy between you and Tom Fitzgerald, but would you dispute the report from Saturday?
No, I think I'm getting calls on Steven by a few teams.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question, but he controls that at this point. So all I do is listen, and that's it.
A more general question. Friedman also said that the Devils, not necessarily with the players we just discussed, but any moves that the Devils might make, they would need to move out money in order to make those trades. So a general question: how willing are you to take on bad contracts and potential trades if it means improving the return?
Absolutely, we're open-minded to that. I think you have to be. Depends on how bad the contracts are and the length of the contracts. That's really what it comes down to. I think you're asking me questions that I can dispute, but at the same time, you have to listen to everything. So, as I said last week, it's everything's on the table. It has to be. We're not in a spot where we could say no. We're in a spot where we have to listen. We're going to assess and analyze what the returns are and what we need to go going forward. What we need to do and what assets we're going to need to hang on to, and what assets we can maybe capitalize on at this time.
So one thing that you are not allowed to do is you are not allowed to do a double salary retention trade, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So how much does the fact that you can no longer do that complicate things? Steven Stamkos, for example, would be a prime candidate for that had that still been allowed, because he does carry an $8 million cap hit. So the fact that you can't send him to Team B, who retains part of his salary, and then sends him to Team C, how does that complicate things for you generally?
Well, that's where the combination of going forward on what a team might want to give back. It's either we have two options: we have retention, or we have taking a salary back. So it complicates it a little bit, but at the same time, if you got the right partner and the fit is right, it's going to happen.
Let me ask you about Stamkos and O'Reilly on the ice. They've been on a line lately with Luke Evangelista, and it seems that line has elevated the games of all three players. Why has that been a successful mix?
Well, I think on every good line there's there's a playmaker, and it's driven. I think Ryan O'Reilly drives a lot out of the offensive stuff. He's very intelligent. He's got a great stick. He sees the ice pretty well. You got a finisher in Stammer, and he can still pass the puck, and he still makes some plays. And I just think with Luke and Ryan have had something good. It's helped Luke's development this year. I think Luke's played much better after probably the first 10 games. He's sort of caught up to the rest of the group. And there's a playmaker on there. There's a there's a guy that's got dog in him, in O'Reilly, and then you got a real good, smart, future Hall of Famer in Steven Stamkos to finish. So it's got all the elements for a good line when they're all working, and they're all working.
We're talking to Barry Trotz, Predators general manager. They play tonight against the Colorado Avalanche. And Barry, we've seen now a couple of nice moments for Reed Schaefer and Matt Wood. Wood had a really nice goal, through the legs there. The game was a little out of hand, but you see the what he can do a little bit. Reed Schaefer, we've gotten a little feel for his game. What are your impressions of what you like and what needs to be the next step for them?
Well, I think in Woody's case, you see the hands. You see what our scouts saw in him, the ability to get into the interior, the ability to get that shot off, ability to make plays in tight quarters, ability to come off the walls, really good sort of poise and deception. Just like any young player who's got some size to him, he worked really hard in the skating. His skating has come miles in just one summer. Not that he wasn't working on it before, but he really doubled down this year, and he did everything to really improve that. So the sort of continuation of being able to continue to get quicker, continue to be more powerful, get more of that man strength, and then he'll get more productive, even more so than he is right now. So, and then also getting used to the grind of the NHL. I mean, this is the sort of the quarter pole, or just out past the quarter pole. And he's, probably played out half a season of college already. So college is the great thing about college is that there's separation. You get time, you play Friday, Saturday night, Sunday's probably off, and then you sort of work your way to the next weekend. In the National Hockey League, you're playing every 48 hours.
Yeah, especially this year, right?
Yeah,
with the compressed schedule.
This year.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily physically, and it is physically a hard for players, but mentally, like it is. We call it Groundhog Day, and you live it. You travel with us, Willie, and you're playing. You show up. We have practice. They get on the plane. We travel and do the same thing the next day in another city. So I think that's, as the season goes on, you'll see if Matthew can thrive on it, or it gets you a little bit, because it is
You've seen both over the years.
I've seen both. I've seen a young player really, really thrive. And I think I said last year, we were talking about Svechkov. The biggest thing that he said is, Svesh, he goes, "Oh, every second day, that's really hard."
Yeah.
It's just
in his own
hard.
way. He's one of the more charismatic guys out there.
Yeah, it's really hard, and he was talking about it mentally too, because you're up and then you're down, and then you got to get going again. Where when you're in the minors or playing the KHL, the games are separated a lot of times by 3, 4, 5 days between games, so you get a chance to exhale. In the National Hockey League, once you start, you don't have a chance to exhale, and that's why it's such an unforgiving league.
So we mentioned Schaefer as well. What do you see from him? You've been telling us about him. Now we've seen him for a couple weeks. What are you seeing so far from him? Because I've seen some moments where he's like, you know what, I'm 6'5". I actually can hit this guy. And then, of course, he sees what happens as a result. He gets the tension, but he's getting to some tough areas as well.
He does. And that's where Reed will have a great success in this league, is that he will, he's got a nice combination. I mean, he's 6'4". He skates like a smaller man. He's powerful. But you tend to forget that he's still like the 20-year-old, and he still doesn't have that man strength. So he's going to get a bit faster. He's going to get a little stronger. He's going to get to know the league a little bit better. I mean, it's easy to say, unless you're wired really, really like Toots was, I mean, who's fearless, you sort of get to gauge the league a little bit, which guy's a bluffer, which guy's really, really tough, which guy throws to the right or left if I draw attention. So he's got to learn the league a little bit. You saw it in the American Hockey League last year. He came out his first year, and he was not I wouldn't say tentative, but he was just feeling his way through it. And then all of a sudden he just took off, and unfortunately got hurt and missed the season. But you could tell once you got that confidence, hey, I've been here, done that. I know this guy. I know what they're all about. Then you're going to see him have success. So really happy having a big guy that can skate like that. I mean, we've got continue to put emphasis on speed. We want skill and speed. We want our fans to be able to jump up all the time when we have a guy pull off a high skilled play and our execution's high and all that. So we're going to continue to draft a combination of speed, skill, size to have a really good format for what we want to do in the future.
The last couple of games have been very interesting. You had maybe one of the best wins of the year at Florida, where you had a desperate Florida team that had lost some games. You knew you were going to get their best game, and they found a way to win. Then really good team in Carolina that came out. They played really well. Both games involved a lot of penalties taken by the Predators. And I wanted to ask you about how you tried to handle that as a coach, because everybody says the same thing. You got to stay out of the box. Stay out of the box. Nobody wants to go out there and take 6 penalties. In one game, you overcame it. And the next game, it sunk you at the beginning of the game. So how does a coach work on that? What can a coach do to try to get a team out of a funk like that?
When you do that, there's different elements. Obviously, the coaches, now these days, the way contracts are and all that, you have only one thing is plain and simple is ice time. From a coaching standpoint, I always looked at it 2 ways. I looked at it as ice time. I looked at it as being a good teammate. So if a guy starts piling up penalties, I would start talking about what is a true good teammate. True good teammate doesn't take multiple penalties in the game, doesn't take offensive zone penalties. True teammate doesn't do maybe this or that. Reason why is that the guys that you think you do something that is from lack of effort or just a little bit of carelessness, there's going to be times when the guy steps on your stick, you get a tripping call, and it's not intentional. But all the intentional stuff, I really call out as being a good teammate, because the guy that's killing that penalty is probably going to have to block a shot at sometimes. So he's putting himself at risk. Those guys are paying for your sins, if you will, which is not good signs of a good teammate. Now, I can tell you I'm around the room a lot, and we have good teammates, but we have this year at times gone in little segments of 2 or 3 games where not only do we take one penalty, we take like 4 or 5 in a row. Some are intentional, some aren't, but the combination in those games, be it an offensive zone penalty here, maybe not a great penalty, we take one because we put a puck over the glass. We take one on a holding because they're trying to, make a play, or guys going around us get a little bit of a holding call, and they just sort of, mound on you, and you're playing shorthanded for 6-8 minutes, and that's happened to us too many, and we're not a good enough team to overcome that night in and night out. There's just no way, and
so tonight that would be a test.
Sure. especially
if you look at Colorado's power play, it's pretty.
Yeah. What is Colorado? 21-1-6 or something.
Yeah. 2 regulation losses.
And what's
so far
their power
season.
play is over 30%. I think something like that. It's scary.
Yeah. No, they're in a different league right now, and they're deep and they're fast, and they've got a lot of veteran presence, or a lot of star power, and a lot of veteran presence, and they're hitting it on all cylinders right now. There's no one in the league that's even close to them right now. I guess Dallas would be the closest, and they're playing at a different level, and they'd probably be right now the odds-on favorite to be the Stanley Cup champions if you were betting today. But those are great tests. Those are tests for our team, the veteran group, also the young guys. I mean, when we were starting out, Willie, in the early days, that powerful Detroit team that you had to see 6-7 times a year,
sometimes 8,
sometimes
a couple
8,
of those years,
and you're going, they're very capable of getting a dozen goals every night, and they made us better. We found ways to hang in games. Pekka Rinne had a lot to do with that, and but it made us better. That was the best development tool that this organization could have had in the early years, was a great Detroit team, and then a really powerful Chicago team. So, this is another eye-opening game for us too. You're playing a team that's just loaded.
Barry Trotz is with us. Barry, I've been wondering this. There is a banned phrase or word in the GM fraternity, rebuild. I've noticed that a lot of GMs don't like to use that word. You've used blend to describe what you're trying to do. You've used transition. So why do GMs not like to use that word? And is there a difference in your mind between a transition / blend and a rebuild?
Yeah, I think there is. There's different forms, and I think it's easy just to use rebuild and right across the board. I think teams are in different situations. Teams that have had a total rebuild. They've you look back at I want to go say Chicago, it was like 7 or 8 years ago now. They had a couple young players. I think it was DeBrincat and they saw that they were at a point where, you know what, we were going to go into full rebuild, and they moved on from DeBrincat, for instance. And they just sort of went right down to the studs.
I think they traded Panarin at that time as well.
And they burned it right down to the studs, and they collected as many picks as they could. I think they had three. Oh, I know they had 3 top 5 picks in succession. They had 34 first-round picks over a span of those 3 years. It crop dusted, the whole first few rounds, the whole draft, and started that rebuild. There's teams that are in a little bit different situation where you've got, some like us. We have some older players, but we've already started building a base. We've drafted some first round picks. You see Wood, you see Schaefer, you see Svechkov, LaRue, hopefully in a couple of weeks here. So there's people coming already. We drafted Brady Martin, our first top 5 pick. And so those teams were able to get to the point where they're going to be. You look at Chicago right now; they'll be a powerhouse in a couple of years. A good example would be San Jose. They had Hurdle and all that. They actually really didn't start the rebuild till really 2-3 years ago, but they did get 3 top picks already. And so now you see them starting to go that way, and those are probably rebuilds. One was right down to the sort of the studs, and the other one was, we had to peel off some guys, and it's sort of where we are. We're probably very, very similar. We've got some older guys, but we've got some young guys coming. The difference is San Jose didn't have a base that we do already. So if we continue down this road and we don't get to where we want to get to this year, then they will have to do the hard things and move some people out and sort of get more draft choices and more picks and keep building that base so that we can be the team that's can say, hey, we got lots of young players, we got lots of assets, we got lots in the toolbox, and we just got to wait and give them time, and it'll be exceptional. It'll be a little bit of pain because there is a growing pain that you go through in this league, but on the other end, you're going to be in a good spot for 10 years. Like Chicago's going to be in a good spot for the next 10 years. They have to go through a lot of the pain of the last few years. So that's the cycle that you have in the National Hockey League. You look at the teams that are in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, or last couple of years. Edmonton got the 3, McDavid.
Oh boy, it took them a while. Yeah,
it took them a while, but they got top number 1 picks 2-3 in a number of years in a row,
and they even missed on a couple of them, and finally got it. Yeah,
but they're in the Cup Finals now. You look at teams.
Colorado was an example of that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you need to collect some of those high picks, because you don't get Nathan McKinnon by picking 23rd. You get Nathan McKinnon if you're picking one or 2. And I remember that draft. It was McKinnon, Barkov, Drouin, and Jones, and we got Jones at 4. And you think about this, the great thing about this franchise is, I think it's 26, 27 years. How many top 5 picks has this franchise had? We had David Legwand, Seth Jones,
and now Brady Martin.
Brady Martin.
That's it.
In 26 years. That's pretty good for a franchise. What we did, and I was probably a part of it, David Poyle was a part of it, we did too good of a job in the early years. We did,
Yeah.
because second year in the league, we're drafting 7th and 8th, where we should have probably been 1 or 2. But that's how competitive this
But
organization.
there's a benefit to that, right? That you would say, right?
Yeah.
That you built the foundation of how you wanted to play, the culture. That's the trade-off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The trade-off, and really, I look back at the 26 years, and you could go one way or the other. I don't think this franchise was ready for the first pick overall right away, because the early years were lean, and we had to try to be as entertaining and as competitive as we could early and quickly, because the early years, this wasn't a hockey market. This is a terrific hockey market now. So I think people understand it. But back then, they didn't understand the game that well. I remember them standing for the whole first game, just like football or basketball, and never sat down. And I remember Terry Crisp, or the announcer, going, "That was icing." Icing is when, so we've come a long way. So, for our franchise, that's a real feather in your cap, that you had to do it the hard way. I remember we didn't have much because we were a new franchise. Things were a little lean in the early years, that we didn't have I remember going to the first playoff series, and Detroit had their payroll was $72 million. Ours was 13, and we're going to play them in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we got some kids. I remember the early lean years where I would put David Gosselin and Peter Sikora, guys that had played in Milwaukee, played a few games in Nashville on the ice, and Detroit would counter with Fedorov, Yzerman, Shanahan, Lidstrom,
Right.
Lidstrom, and we're lining up, and they're going, they're just feasting on us. And our young guys learned to survive. Our young guys, we learned to play a little different style. That's the reason it's called Smashville, is that we said, we're not as skilled as you, but we're going to run you over a few times, and we'll knock down some of that level of skill. We're going to have to do it on work ethic. We're going to have to do it on different things. So we learn to adapt, just like we're learning to adapt now. We tried to do a little bit of the blend, thinking, I can get us to buy some time for our young kids. In some ways we have, but I thought we'd be a little bit higher up the standings than we were last year. And, the plan hasn't really changed. We are going to continue to get young kids, develop them, and build a really good team here that can win for a long time. So that plan hasn't changed. It's just sometimes it seems like it gets clouded over a little bit by wins and losses, and all the other rumors. Steven Stamkos going to get traded, or this. There's so much out there. I talked to the group. I said, there's so much noise, guys, and all of it's not true, and all of it's true. Because someone asked me about Steven Stamkos, would you move him? Yeah, for the right price, yeah. That would be the answer from 31 other general managers for sure. You got to listen, and if there's something that may have some substance, then you're going to act upon it. But so many rumors, Ryan O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marcia. So we just go through our whole team. I mean, it's yes to everything, because it's my job to listen. And if something makes sense, then we'll act upon it. And other than that, you guys do a good job coming up with all the good stuff and all the rumors. And I got people telling me how our like I said, how our room is or how it isn't, and about my coach and about me or whatever. Those are all. I get it. Yeah, everybody has their opinion, but we have to stay steadfast on having a good plan and continue to stay with it, even if there is some pain. So I appreciate what you guys do all the time. I appreciate the fans, because this game is not always about the wins and losses. It's about the other stuff in the game, and that's building something. We want to build something great here, and there's going to be some times when it's not going to go as smooth, and we understand that, and that's where I come in. I got big shoulders, as you know. I can take it, so we're just going to continue down that path.
Barry Trotz has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick. He joins us every Tuesday during hockey season. Barry, as always, a pleasure to catch up with you. Enjoy the later start tonight. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm going to have my pajamas on up in the booth. Yeah, it's going to be. It's a little bit later. That's obviously the blessing and the curse of the Central Time Zone. This
Yes.
is what you get sometimes. So I don't mind this, because we're going to have to be on these times when we start making the playoffs.
That's right. You get those 8:30s.
We'll get those. We'll train the young guys to do that. So, all right.
Thank you, Barry. 615-737-1025. We will react to what Barry Trotz had to say coming up next. 615-737-1025. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Reddit user Rene Fervezina, who transcribes our interviews with Trotz and claims not to like me. Good luck transcribing that final answer from Barry Trotz. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, 1025. The Game.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. They've got 20 locations in our listening area, and they sponsor our great segment, Take It to the Bank, every Friday to end the show, to end the week. And we've had a blast. And we thank them for their sponsorship of DVD. And in the meantime, they want to build a relationship with you. 2026 is just around the corner. If one of your New Year's resolutions is to have a better handle, understanding of your finances, get a little more detail-oriented, and find somebody who can help you out that really cares about you and your business means more to them, that's F&M Bank. Look up the nearest location to you by going to myfmbank.com and build that relationship. That's what they want to do. Their motto is banking made easy on purpose. They want to take that burden off of you. So find that website and enjoy that segment every Friday on our show at 5:45. Take It to the Bank. Brought to you by F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. One thing you have to admire about Barry Trotz, that man can talk.
Hey,
He's not going to leave anything on the table.
no, when
No,
you're GM,
He's
you
going
got to be able to
to
talk.
answer the question.
And
gotta be able to
look,
talk,
we
man.
appreciate the fact that Trotz comes on our program every week, but I was so close to busting out a stopwatch for that last response. He leaves no stone unturned, which I appreciate.
Hasn't changed in 26 years.
Do you expect it to change? He's very thorough in what he's saying.
He covers a lot of ground, but the one thing that he said that I think is important is nothing is off the table. He has said that multiple times. He wasn't breaking news when he said that.
But he didn't have any restrictions on some of the things you tried to pin him down on.
Yes.
Hey, I really don't like, because share the story you share with me, Adam, because not every general manager is open to taking on a quote unquote bad contract just to balance the books, right? For example, some of these teams that are contending, they want good players. They want to load up, but they need to offload some salary in order to make it fit under their cap. So that's the dilemma. And I know you've had this conversation in the past.
Yes. So after the Predators were swept out of the first round of the playoffs by the Avalanche in 2022, I asked David Poyle if he would use cap space. At the time, they had a lot of it. I asked him if he would use that cap space to take on bad contracts in exchange for future assets. And he told me no. I found the quote, I'd rather put that money into desirable players.
But the trade-off is, and as Barry mentioned, for if you do it David Poyle's way, which, and remember at the time, it was post-COVID, and the cap was flat.
Correct.
So
a different time.
I could see why he would feel that way as at the time, even though I think he probably always as a base felt that way. He didn't want to take on bad money, but especially then. Now with the cap going drastically up, there's usually more room a team has to be able to bury a contract,
right,
of that nature. But if it means you get more in return, as Barry kind of hinted at, because it would all be a question of what are you giving me, right?
Right.
I'm not just taking on a bad contract because, but if you say, hey, if you take Adam's Adam's not very good. He makes $6 million.
Earlier, I thought I was a great outside linebacker.
Sometimes you're a different character just for the movie we're in, right? You're a good actor. You can play.
I'm a chameleon.
The bum, and you can play the superstar.
Okay.
This case, you're the overpaid bum.
Sure.
So if I'm gonna take Adam's contract, which is he's overpaid,
bumify.
But I say, hey, if you take Adam's contract, I will give you an extra XYZ. This is a prospect you really like. I don't want to give him up. But if you take Adam's contract off my hands, we got a deal. Now we're talking. That's how you work that.
Yes. So Elliot Freeman, who joins us on Thursdays, his report over the weekend on Hockey Night in Canada was that the Devils are perhaps the most active team at the moment, and they have looked at Steven Stamkos and Ryan O'Reilly, among other players. He also mentioned that the Devils are in a cap situation where in order to take on a player, they are going to need to move out money. So I actually do want to give credit to my friend Ryan, a.k.a. @AngryPredsFan on social media, because I saw this first from him.
He's your friend?
He's my friend. He's my online friend.
Your online friend?
He's my online friend. I have not met him.
Is his real name Ryan?
As far as I know. He's my online friend.
Your online pen pal?
I just wanted to make that distinction.
Yes, he's my online friend.
He's everywhere on Twitter, right?
Yes.
Everybody knows who he is.
Yes.
But you've never met him.
No.
I don't think he lives in Nashville.
He
right?
lives in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. He's like my imaginary girlfriend from Canada. What you?
I swear she's real, guys.
You didn't have a friend who said I have a girlfriend. You're like, yeah. Does she live in Canada?
Oh, when I was little, yeah, when I was younger.
Okay, back on track.
Vacationing right now.
Back on track. Okay.
Show me a picture.
Oh,
You had to cut out a model from a
it's home.
magazine.
It's back home.
Yes. Okay, hold on.
Okay, go
Because
ahead.
he suggested if the Predators make a trade with the Devils, that they should take back Andre Palat, one of Steven Stamkos' former teammates, who is in New Jersey, who's having a bad season. He is 34 years old. He has 5 points in 29 games. He makes, if I'm not mistaken, $6 million against the cap through next season.
Yeah. So he's dead weight right now. He was a great player on great teams. I shouldn't say he was a great player. He was a very good piece of a big-time winning team.
Yes.
For a long time.
So if you're the Predators and Tom Fitzgerald, former Predators captain, who is now the GM in New Jersey, if he's interested in Ryan O'Reilly, for example, and he says to Barry Trotz, I want to take on Ryan O'Reilly. I don't have enough room. I need you to take Andre Palat. Barry Trotz can say, okay, I will, but that B-level prospect you're giving me has to be an A-level prospect now. And it sounds like he's open to it, which I like. I think that's the right way to go about it. The other thing that's complicating matters, as I mentioned to Trotz, is the NHL has abolished the double salary retention trades. So when Ryan O'Reilly was traded from the Blues to the Maple Leafs, he actually made a pit stop in Minnesota. I believe he was traded from St. Louis to Minnesota to Toronto, and Minnesota retained, I believe, a quarter of his salary. So when he went to Toronto, he had a much lower cap hit. You can't do that anymore. So Steven Stamkos would have been a prime candidate for that. The Predators trade Steven Stamkos to Team B. They retain 25% of his salary, and then that team trades Stamkos to the team that he actually wants to go to. You can't do that anymore. So that's going to complicate things for Trotz when he's making these moves.
I agree, and I'm curious all around the league what that ends up looking like. And right now, it's still relatively early. It's only December 9th. But let's just take you mentioned New Jersey. New Jersey's looking around, and we were gonna have this this type of discussion in football with what's going on in the AFC with the Colts issues at quarterback and the opportunity now that teams like the Broncos and the Patriots have in front of them, like the Chiefs and the Ravens, may not even make the playoffs. The Colts might have Phillip Rivers quarterbacking their team in the playoffs. This could be our year. Let's go for it. I think the Devils are looking at the Florida Panthers, who they've won the last two, and they are strapped right now with injuries. They've played a lot of hockey. I think there's still time for them to get back in the picture, but man, they may not get back. Toronto doesn't look like they're quite the same. I think the Devils are looking around going, this might be the time to go for it. And there's not a lot of teams out of it. So I think right now, if you look at the Predators, who are hard-pressed to get back into it, right? They're still playing to try. You got to keep trying until you're out of it, until you really reach the reality, even though some people would already say they're there. They're moving in that direction, right? And there's very few teams in that boat. So when Barry Trotz says all 31 other general managers are calling him, I'll bet you that's true. I don't think he's exaggerating. You know, if it's not 31, I'll bet you it's about 20, 25, right? Because all of them are saying, who are the teams that are really likely to be sellers right now? Let's get in early and figure out what they've got. What do we have? Let's start building conversations that could go one way or another.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on Barry Trotz's interview from earlier in the hour. If you missed it, it will be available wherever you get your podcast. We'll also take your thoughts on imaginary girlfriends from Canada. Why not? 615.
What were their names?
Yes, what were their names? 615-737-1025. Derek, I'm sure Derek Mason had one. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think. With Bax Homeworks, get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. Steam Svingen and Donick 102.5. The game, we are live at Bridgestone Arena. Usually we see fans filing in right about now, but the game doesn't start until 8:30. So no fans in the building yet. Predators versus Avalanche tonight at 8:30 p.m. Puck drop. Pre-game 7:30. The game, by the way, is on TNT. So no Willie Donick in the crew tonight, unfortunately, on FanDuel Sports Network. But you do get to hear Kenny Albert, Brian Boucher, and Jody Shelley. All three wonderful at their job. So I'll give Willie Donick the night off this time.
Okay.
This time.
Not as many this year for us, so we can deal with it. There were years where we had like 10 games that we didn't get to do.
One texter said, met her at summer camp, ? My imaginary girlfriend from Canada.
Band camp?
Now that takes me back to Camp Silver Beach. That was the overnight camp I went to.
Camp Silver Beach.
Camp Silver Beach. On the
Camp
eastern
Crystal
shore,
Lake.
not Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh, fortunately for you.
Yes.
Yes. No Voorhees is running around. But I remember the one hot girl at summer camp, Emmy Tappan. Emmy Tappan, she was the love of all of the campers. It was, the love of everybody's life at camp. And this one time, I've told this story before, I think. I can never hear the song, is it Mario, Let Me Love You?
Yeah.
You should let me love you. I can't hear that. Like that song. That song has to be 20-something years old, and I can't. Whenever I hear that song, I think back to the Camp Silver Beach talent show when one of my cabin mates decided to surprise Emmy Tappan by serenading her with that song, and the look on her face of sheer terror and embarrassment. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I remember how embarrassed he made Emmy Tappan feel in the summer of like 2003.
I admire that guy's guts, though.
He tried.
I would have never done that.
Oh, heck no. Remember that one time in band camp?
All right, let's keep it PG, American Pie. All right. Jerry on our text line says, my imaginary girlfriend from Canada cannot fathom why the Predators would want to take on another bad contract just to get a prospect. Oh, there you go. Thank you, David. Everything that we've talked about this year is how we've had older players. How Steven Stamkos is a bad contract, and we can't get rid of it. But why would we want to take on another one? It just makes no sense to me.
Well, because you don't know what the rest of the package is, right?
It's not just
you're not just getting Andre Palat, obviously.
This was my point. Let's say a team calls about Steven Stamkos, and the team says, we're only willing to take on Steven Stamkos at 50% retained, meaning the Predators have to keep the $4 million. I'm screwing this up in my own head.
And there's a lot of levels you can do it on.
Right. But basically, let's say the Predators do not want to let me start this again. Let's say the Predators do not want to retain salary on Steven Stamkos. You want him, you've got to take on the full freight. And the team says, we can't do that. Will you retain 50% of his salary? Because that's the maximum. Can you retain 50% of his salary? And Barry Trotz can say, yes, but you are going to give me a first-round pick and one of your top 3 prospects. If you don't want to give that up, then I'm not going to give you Steven Stamkos at $4 million. That's the point. But you take on the bad contract in addition to other assets, but it may help you get better assets because you're doing the other team a favor.
Or you could blend it together and say, okay, you're not going to retain. All right, we'll take the full contract, but you got to take Palat. That's I think what Barry was saying philosophically.
Yeah.
Is that's what you weigh.
I got myself tongue tied there, but you know my
because
point.
Remember, you only have the retention spots.
They have each team has 3.
But how many does Nashville have now?
They have 2 because they retained on Matthias Ekholm and they retained on Colton Sissons, but both of those contracts expire at the end of the season.
Right, so they can only use one spot on that. So they could play that card, but that would take that out, and now you can't do that for anybody else. So you want to hold on to that retention spot for a great deal. And let me say this. Steven Stamkos is playing much better the last couple of weeks, and I think he is showing that if he were to be put on the right team, who's got the players, as we talked about, he's a shooter. He needs the distributor. if he gets on a team with a distributor, I think that team could be sitting, Steven Stamkos can help our team. That's good for the Predators. So now they've got to get Marchessault going a little bit here, right? If they want to try to look at all these possibilities, they're not going to trade everybody, I don't think. I don't know if you're going to have a huge fire sale here. But what you want is to get maximum value for guys who have been pretty darn good players or great players over most of their career. It just hasn't happened here. But I think there was a moment maybe a month ago where you'd say, what do you think you can get for Steven Stamkos? The answer might have been, I don't know. What can you get? But now I think he's shown enough. The guy can still play. And especially if you put him on the right team with the right guys, I think he could be a big asset for somebody. And you could get a big asset in return.
And you've seen this around the league. It's a different situation, but a player like Shea Weber, for example, his career is over. He's on long-term injured reserve, but you've seen his contract traded from team to team. I believe Utah had it, and now Chicago does, or Chicago had it, and now Utah does. I don't know. But those teams get assets for taking on that contract, basically to just pay Shea Weber. That's the point, Jerry. It's not just the Predators taking on a bad contract for nothing. You hope that the Predators would be willing to do that, and Barry Trotz said he is.
Right, but what did he say? Depends on how long the contract is.
Yes.
If it's a bad contract that you only have to take for the end of next year, one more year, that's a lot different than saying you're stuck with this guy for 4 more years. That's a very big difference.
Yes. So I appreciate Barry Trotz saying that he is willing to do that, because I think if he is going to maximize his assets, he is going to have to be creative, which means he's probably going to have to retain salary, which means he's probably going to have to take on a bad contract. So I appreciate the fact that he is open-minded to all of that. So I think that's a good thing when the Predators start to sell off. Our friend Hair Metal Henry says, tap in, as in tap in that. I will show myself out. It was actually spelled T-A-P-P-E-N, not T-A-P-P-I-N. I wonder what she's doing right now.
Let's find out.
No, I've already gotten myself in trouble with
Google.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do
No,
it.
no, no.
Don't
No.
Don't even go down that road.
D-Mace is right.
Bridget,
Don't do it.
I love you.
You're the real love of his life.
I never had eyes for Emmy Tappan when I was a teenager. I did not serenade her with Mario. All right, that'll do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Jonathan Hutton will join us. Silly underdog picks. Bowl season is here. Willie Donick needs to formulate the plan.
But I will let the panel know.
Okay.
What the games are, the eligible games.
It's coming down to the wire. Derek and I are neck and neck, and Hal and Chris there, they're eating our dust. We'll see what happens in bowl season. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music? Don't you forget about us, because we won't forget about you. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Peace.